in like selection or whatever, but I was just gonna take notes
Yes, please
as
do.
usual.
Yeah, because you are good at it. Oh, well, okay, so we are on. Calling the meeting to order. It is February 9th. Conservation Board of the great city of Livingston, Montana. So I'll just share. I'm going to try to be a little bit more screen share-y this time. So I'm just going to do that. Share. And then I'm even going to just sort of throw caution to the wind and share my desktop. Can you all see the agenda? Okay, so I was hoping this could be a pretty fairly short meeting, mainly because it's just kind of to gather our thoughts and get a couple of these small things out of the way that need to be done for the year, and then really just sort of talk a little bit more holistically about how we're gonna do the rest of the year. Crucially though, yeah, we got to do officer elections. And then I wanted to give you some updates on some of the stuff. So the first one is on all meetings, and I'm going to be a little bit over explanatory, Pam, for your benefit, but if it just gets annoying, let me know. Okay.
Okay. Appreciate it.
So we always do a public comment period at the beginning. So I'll open it up as board chair, as current board chair. I'll open it up for public comment. And then if anybody that's called in wants to provide any kind of comment, they can.
Is
And
that pertaining to anything on the agenda or just anything wide open?
Actually, it usually is intended to be a catch-all for things that aren't on the agenda. So if there are comments that people want to make to the conservation board, this is their opportunity to do that. But they are actually explicitly asked to, if possible, to just wait until the agenda item comes up if it's to address a very specific thing that we actually have noticed and we're going to talk about. And we can play pretty fast and loose with the rules if we want, depending on the structure of the meeting. In fact, at some point we can just have a resolution to suspend Robert's rules and go to conversational meeting, but not yet, I think. So I'm gonna close the comment period. We have the 11/17 meeting minutes that Amy expertly typed up. So these are the meeting minutes when we discussed our recommendation to have Pam join the board. Can I get a motion?
I motion to approve the meeting minutes.
I will second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I
Aye.
All right, by unanimous, it passes. I just closed the wrong thing. Okay, so next is our review of board operations and roles. Okay, so this is the one where I want to just chat through this. What I'm going to do, if it's okay, is pull up our bylaws. These are the ones from October 2019. They do talk about the old meeting time, which is the second Thursday of each month at 5:30. They did adopt us being able to do it on Wednesdays, the second Wednesday at 5 every year. And we could always ask them to change the normal meeting time anytime. It just does have to get updated on the city commission level to just amend our bylaws. So Pam, for your benefit, we do have a conservation board Google Drive folder, which I invited you to before this meeting.
I actually came across that a while back and just kind of perused it to get a feel for what you guys had jumped into in the past.
Yep.
But I'd love to hear anything more you have to say about it or what you guys use it for.
No, really, the only thing I have to say about it is it's a public drive, and our rules for using it are not like the standard Google Drive that we all know and love, where we can create a Word document or, a Google Doc, and we can add comments and co-edit and do all that stuff. It is a repository, but and it is available to the public, as you know. It is also not a place for deliberation. So if you have things that you want board members to review, you can put it in there, but then you have to have that put up into an agenda item on a meeting coming up. Does that make sense? Because
Basically, if we're using it, it should be on if I'm putting something in there, it should be on the agenda.
Correct. Yeah. So, and it's not that, it may sound cumbersome at first, but the whole point is to comply with sunshine laws and all that stuff. So we're just being, we really like having a place. So we're trying to have it so that we're not trading all of our stuff on email or worse, in paper form. But, if we abuse it, we'll lose it, kind of thing. So that's what that's about. And that's linked to on the city website. And nobody has write access except for the people on this board. And Faith, I think. Okay, so
interesting interaction with Faith. She recently emailed me, and I discovered why she wasn't getting any of my emails I was sending her apparently, because my email had been marked as spam. And she just recently messaged me to say, "I'm sorry, I haven't been trying to ignore you. I'll alert our IT person." It's a valid email. So anyways, that was a funny side note.
I'm glad that there was a resolution. I actually had an identical thing happen to me too.
Yeah.
For some reason. Okay, so these are our purposes. So you can read through all this. Should point out that we still have a vacancy for a youth member of our board. It's a youth member is someone between the ages of 15 and 19, and they have full voting rights. Officers and duties. So at the first meeting of each calendar year, that's this one, the board will elect from its members a chair and a vice chair. And then we may choose to elect a secretary. And then the secretary is responsible for keeping records of board actions and recommendations and audio recordings and minutes and sending out meeting announcements and distributing copies of minutes and the agenda to each board member. And if there is no secretary, then that's been done by the chair. So that kind of leads to our first well, our compulsory order of the day, which is that we do need to elect officers. So to give you an idea of what, how we've been doing that, and I'm just going to stop share for a second. Let's see, I've been chair since the first meeting 2 years ago. And I started off pretty heavy on doing a lot of the secretary stuff. And then, so I was taking all the minutes, I was sending out the stuff and doing everything. And then I think it really was, Amy, you've really kind of taken a big charge on a lot of the secretary stuff, just because she's very efficient and she takes notes during the meeting and then has the minutes posted like within 5 minutes of the end of the meeting. It's astonishing. So that's been a really big help, because and then Amy's also been sending me quiet reminders that I've been, anytime I don't send out an agenda or something, she sends me an email that says, hey, you should probably,
Just so you know, I have that as a calendar reminder. It's not that you aren't doing something. I'm just following what my calendar tells me to do.
I told you already, I have.
No, I was about ready to be like, take over this last time. I was like, okay, no one is doing anything. What's happening?
Yeah. And for the public record, I should apologize for being remiss the last three months or so. I've just had a lot of personal stuff, and we've had no demands from the city. You know, if we did have an actual topic that was specifically requested by city staff, that's one thing. But, you know, we've had a pretty good stretch here now where we've been defining our own agendas. And so we didn't really have a compulsory reason to meet. And there's a lot, as you all know, there's a lot going on. So so those are kind of the roles. The vice chair role is really is really as just backup for the chair. So that they know Robert's rules and are able to sort of run the meeting in case they need to. Any other questions about what officer roles are? Okay. So then in order to do this, we need to pass resolutions about electing members to officer roles. And I will start this thing by saying I very much would love for somebody to take over the chair role.
Quiet.
I'm hoping I would step up. I feel a little inexperienced.
What's that, Pam?
I said if you were hoping I'd step in, I feel a little inexperienced.
I mean, hey, no. Look, I wouldn't disqualify yourself that easily, because, you know, what's the best way to learn but to do, right? No, my biggest reason, I'm still very dedicated to what we're doing, and I am going to be hopefully, especially when this silly project is over, I'll be able to provide a lot more bandwidth to conservation board topics. But I was not very satisfied with how well I handled the last 3 months being overloaded. And I just don't want that to rest on my shoulders going into the rest of this year. And I think it would be nice to have a fresh face as the chair. There's nothing scary about any of this. The only thing that I have gotten used to doing is that if somebody from the city needs something from the conservation board, they typically call the chair first. and that's fine. It's an easy thing to do. And then the chair typically, really guides what the agenda is going to be. But again, we get to define these things however we want. The chair's only statutory role is to run the meeting. And I guess to run the meeting and set the agenda, unless two of the board members express that they need something on the agenda, in which case it's on the agenda, whether the chair wants it or not. So that's kind of the role. And then vice chair and secretary. I think we should continue having a secretary. It's a great way to break things up. Does anybody want to put their hat in for chair?
Not really. Lindsay, do you want to be the chair?
You guys, I think I'm gonna have the same struggle as Michael. I just feel like I want to be here to support, but maybe next time around I'll go for chair, but I just want to help be a worker bee and like move projects forward right now.
So Lindsay, what I heard was an explicit request that January 2023 meeting has a resolution that Lindsay be the chair. Okay.
I don't know if I'm being heard.
I know. Okay. So
I mean, I feel like we probably all feel like that. And so that's what's making it hard for me too. And we know Alexis is busy and Pamela's new. So I totally get that. I don't know.
So I have
not have a chair.
Well, I have a thought. I have been thinking about this. I can, well, it actually kind of depends on Pam a bit. How much do you want to jump into this? Because one arrangement could be that if you want to learn, you could take over an officer role if you wanted. Alexis, what's your temperature too? I just want to hear from both of you, please.
I think it's hard because I would, I guess, potentially be interested in it. It's just I have no way of predicting. Like last week, I was working till like 8 p.m. every day, So it's like, that probably won't happen again. But I also thought that back in November and then January, I worked, 60-hour week. So that's the thing that's kind of holding me back is it just feels kind of unpredictable of like how much time I would have, because if I'm working that much, there's just no way I could do anything justice. But if it stays how it is now, it'd be okay. But how do you predict that?
And I don't really know I honestly have some job applications floating out there now, so I don't know what my future is going to be, but I'm more just like, I have no idea how you guys normally like choose topics or how meetings are. I think how you guys move forward is kind of where I want to learn more. But yeah, I don't know, that's just where I'm at, is I feel like I don't even know the normal flow of things if there is one. So I feel not comfortable running a meeting right now, but can we elect a new chair in like a month?
We can elect We can elect a new chair any meeting. We can have a new chair every meeting if we want. We truly can. There's nothing in our
Rotate it.
bylaws that keeps us from doing that. But yeah, I mean, that's fair. That would be it's okay. I mean, it feels like that's a very natural position to have, being like, this is your first official meeting as a board member. Hey,
So,
Amy, do you
I
want to
have
be chair? If I was secretary?
Not really. I had a question of what if, I guess I elect or nominate myself as secretary again, but take on more of the, like, the easy part for me is the timing and all of that organization stuff. I mean, I could take on more of that responsibility, though that it involves other people telling me what is on the agenda.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm
Okay.
afraid.
Okay.
Or
Yeah.
like, how can we, I know that you and I have talked before about potentially taking some of it off of, like, we take turns organizing a meeting or whatever.
Yep. That's what I was going to suggest is, if, in fact, I think that might actually be the perfect answer.
Yeah, I think that makes sense of like, I think, I don't know, maybe this is just me, but I feel like what's more freaky is the like, okay, now you're in charge for 6 months or a year. And it's like, oh, I don't know if I could do that. But it's like 1 meeting, 2 meetings. Oh yeah, I could do that.
Yeah,
So-
actually. So if y'all are, if that's the kind of arrangement, and if nobody really if nobody wants to do okay, now we're doing the public comment period and now we're doing the thing, like I am happy to do that. Like I will totally show up for meetings and all that stuff. It's just for me, I think exactly what you articulated, Alexis, and you too, Pam. Like I just don't like having to sort of create the structure around what we're going to output every month is more than I'm able to do right now. So if we as a group are going to maybe take turns, and we can do that this meeting. I mean, that's literally what's noticed for this meeting. This meeting was meant to talk about this stuff. I'm happy. I'm happy to be chair again if it's just, showing up and all that. That's fine. I just didn't. That's inventing what to do every month is like I've probably got 3 good topics in my head, but beyond that, it'd be great to have maybe one person a month, and we can just rotate through, is responsible for setting the agenda that month, unless the city comes and asks for something specific. And I can report on that a little bit too, maybe after this.
Is now an appropriate time to ask, like how do you guys normally set your agenda? Has it traditionally been the city requesting things from you, and now you're caught up on that, or has it just been whatever
Like,
seems
I don't know.
appropriate at the time?
Yeah, it's kind of I guess it's appropriate to say it's a bit of a crapshoot. And I just mean that in the true sense of that. We don't, some months we've had, so for example, last year, I think we dedicated 3 of our meetings at least to the growth policy. And because that was kind of the topic du jour for the city, or topic of the year. And that was related to writing some of those letters and providing input and specific edits to the growth policy for the city. We also had that the city came and the city staff came and did presentations on the green waste facility to us, asking for feedback and suggestions on what they were proposing. And ultimately we forwarded a recommendation to the commission to do that green waste facility. So those are the topics that the city really asks for feedback on. And then the rest of it is really like we had a climate listening session, I think in March of last year, where we, for a climate action plan, where we asked just the public to come and provide comment on what they'd like to see. And then the rest of it has been defined by us. So what do we want to do? So like we spent a couple meetings working, a couple working meetings on our what we thought was important, educational video for recycling, something that'd be fun. And we still need to wrap that up, but we took a bunch of footage at Four Corners Recycling, and we'd like to publish that to the public on the city website. So it's just, you know, kind of a fun little project that helps educate people on how recycling works in the city. That was something that came just out of our noggins. And so that's how it goes. It's kind of random.
Okay. I noticed that you guys had in that folder, the Google Drive folder, a bunch of stuff pertaining to climate action plans. So I didn't know if that was something that the city had asked to have formulated, if they have any sort of a working document on that, or where that all came from. That was just something you guys brought up.
No, you know, I think that's something that we can discuss this year. The capacity at the city level to create a climate action plan that's anything that's on the scale of maybe some of the examples that you saw dropped into the folder is pretty low. Their capacity, you know, staff capacity. And so I think at least on that topic, our path is probably to define kind of what work needs to get done, present that to the commission, and see if the city staff can tackle that work. You know, so that's probably, that could be a topic that we tackle soon.
It seemed like most of those were some conglomeration of like working groups with citizens and input from professionals, and then like work with a consulting agency.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty typical approach. I mean, Alexis, you know a bit about this too, just how those come to be.
Yeah, I know like for whitefishes, they actually used the person who was in my program, the Energy Corps program, but they were in the year before me. They were like the person tasked with making or like overseeing creating the climate action plan for whitefish, but they were just basically, it was like a coordinating role. So they just had like a whole person whose entire job for an entire year, well, 11 months or whatever, was to do a climate action plan and get people together and spearhead that. Fortunately, that plan is now, or that program is defunct now. So Livingston can't get a person to do that, at least through that way. But and I'm sure, and that's for whitefish, that's small. I mean, that's probably could be a Livingston kind of approach, but I'm sure for like Bozeman or Helena, it was much, you know, it was probably a bigger role because they're, especially Bozeman, I'm sure was just a lot more involved.
That was like an AmeriCorps type thing. Wasn't AmeriCorps thing? Getting a little off topic. I was just curious, but
It's
I
not,
think,
it's not off topic. It's actually, I mean, this is what this meeting's for so yeah, I mean, like that particular topic that's kind of under our purview as an advisory board, you know, at some point it would be probably pretty nice to have an output of some kind that's a recommendation to the commission on what to do.
Mhm.
And there are various approaches there, and we can, you know, we should probably have a meeting about it. So as long as we have kind of an, let's try to get our officer roles defined. If is everyone kind of on board with the idea of, you know, defining, like really, you know, putting together sort of an agenda for 2 meetings this year?
Yeah.
Yes.
Lindsay, you
Like
too,
official?
does that sound like something you could do for a couple meetings?
Sure. As long as it's not March and April.
That's
We can
sounds
switch
fine.
that.
Okay. I make a motion that Amy Bowser be the secretary for the conservation board.
Like, what are you gonna say?
I'll second the motion.
Okay. All in favor? I see an aye from Alexis.
I guess.
Pam, a yes from Amy. Lindsay, are you a yes?
I
All right.
Yeah, she's like, yeah. Okay.
All right. So that's unanimous. Last chance. Okay.
Well, I would be down to do the agenda for the next couple meetings. I think it would be cool. I mean, my idea then would be to kind of dig in on the climate action plan. Obviously, we're going to create a climate action plan, but maybe get the ball rolling on writing up some formal recommendations to the city on on how they should approach a climate action plan or a recommendation on it. So
Do you want to be chair?
I can be chair for the next couple meetings, sure.
I make a resolution, or I make a motion that Alexis be chair of the conservation board.
second.
All right, all in favor?
I
Aye.
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 Unanimous. You're the chair.
you can surprise us now when you're done with being chair and want to hand off the duty.
okay. Well,
Yeah.
then I motion that the cellist, that's how I'm writing it, is vice chair,
Mm,
and then you can help Alex if she needs it.
that sounds good.
All right, do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Who seconded? Lindsay?
Me, Alexis of Van Pernis.
Oh,
Aye. So it
Okay.
passes. Okay.
this furious typing.
See, that wasn't hard.
We can all resign whenever we want. I was gonna say that
Yeah, it's true.
as
Escape hatch.
I can help keep people, as long as I know who is the next agenda maker, I will email that person and the chair the week before. That's what I've been doing
Mhm.
for Michael, just to be like, hey, there's a meeting coming. Are we planning on having it? What's the agenda? You need to get the agenda to Faith.
Mhm.
So I can keep people on track with that to a certain degree. If there's no response, then I'm just like, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. No, you're a rock star. Thank
I
you.
can only do so much.
You're doing plenty, because that is just so useful. Okay, I'm not chair anymore, so Alexis.
Oh, did my duties start now? Oh, gosh. Okay.
You can, if you want me to do the rest of this meeting, I will.
Maybe, do you want to
I
do
swear
the
I'm
rest
not
of the meeting so I
laughing.
can be prepared?
Since I sent the agenda, that's fine. If the only thing, then maybe what we can do is, since we have this new way of doing things, can we just generate a list of our meetings for the rest of the year, and then sort of tacitly agree on who's doing those agendas, and then we can even dig into it a little bit if we want, or we can just,
But you don't necessarily mean topics, just kind of assigning who's gonna do it.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, not topics.
Like,
just-
oh my God, I wasn't prepared. Okay, Alexis, did you want March?
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking maybe March and April. I mean, I was just thinking maybe, I know we weren't gonna do topics, but if
That's okay.
like March is kind of
We
like,
have to for March.
I was just thinking like March, like kind of getting a bearing on, at least part of the agenda being like getting a bearing on climate action plans in general, and kind of, or I don't know, just discussing them and what we think would work for Livingston, and then probably for a meeting after that,
Mhm.
or 2 meetings after that, I don't know, when we come up with more formal recommendations of what we think the scope would be, or like what we think.
I
Like,
think that sounds good.
yeah.
'Cause that's such a huge topic. It's gonna be like the growth policy where we like spend
Yeah.
a couple meetings on it.
Yeah.
Can
And
I
I
ask a clarifying question on that? Do you think, because we have just because the tools in our toolbox, so to speak, we have, actual meetings,
Yeah.
and then we can do working meetings. We can make our monthly meeting a working meeting. And all that means is it's a little less formal. We also do not have, during a working meeting, we do not have the capacity to pass any motions. We can't, because of the way that's noticed, but we can it's informal and we can get stuff done. The public still can attend a working meeting. Do you have any sense on whether you'd want to like have a separate working meeting on that and come up with some ideas and all that stuff? And then, it doesn't have to be attended by everybody, but just a way to kick things around.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think the like initial meeting talking about climate action plans in general could definitely be a working meeting. I mean, I doubt we'd be passing anything, just sort of figure, yeah. So, I mean, I'd be down to have the first one be a working meeting, whether it's at like the same time it would normally be, or is it's like an interim meeting. I think that's kind of up to everybody's schedules.
Sure.
Do working meetings require different notification then? Like, do they need an agenda, or is it just posted as like a working?
Yeah, it's typically just a topic, just a general topic, not a detailed agenda. And just saying, we're having a working meeting on this, where we're going to discuss this topic. And that's still noticed. But it's a good way to just, get together, have a little bit less formal structure, because, technically we still, we've got Robert's rules, right, that we're doing.
Mhm.
So anyway, that's a tool in the toolbox for those who are planning. And I actually, something that just kind of comes to mind is that, we actually really need potentially that working meeting tool. And if depending on people's temperature or how passionate or excited they are about a topic, like if you want to request a working meeting that's, you know, some random Wednesday between meetings, I mean, feel free, you know, I mean, I'd be totally excited about showing up to something if I'm free to do it. Sure.
Mhm.
And there's no minimum like requirement for, if two of us can show up and we're good with that, then that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, technically two of us can meet at any time without notice.
Oh,
It's
or-
just when you have a quorum, then you have to have noticed that. All right, so Alexis, do you have maybe then the next couple of meetings? Is that your?
Okay. I have you for March and April.
I'd love to have a working meeting to talk about the recycling videos, either
Yep.
get folks help on them or work on an outreach plan for them or see where we are with them in the month that we have the meeting, but spend just some time as a group on them. It might be nice to have that in one of the nicer months in case we need our working meeting to include filming a few things.
You want me to
So
put you on for May? Or is that too late?
I have to travel for work a lot in May
Oh, okay.
and but I think June and July we could do, if that's all right.
Yeah, I'm just writing names down, so. Do you want both of those or just one of them?
Yeah, I feel like it's June and July or June and August. And I'm breaking up someone else's momentum there, but
Well, that's what I was gonna ask. Do we want to like completely alternate or or just go as like whatever works? Cause like summer would be great for me. I don't have a lot going on like work wise in the summer. But I don't know if people want to have more of a break, do 1 month and then have a break or. Well, I'll take May and then,
I can also just take a random, if there's a random hanging agenda month, I'll totally jump in because I've got a couple of things that I think would be really awesome to cover. One of them being, as y'all know, EVs. They're just kind of a constant topic, but there's so it's that, and then I think we discussed a bit before building codes. Essentially, y'all know I'm. I mean, look at where I'm at. Where I am. I'm in a home construction zone. I have learned more about that than I ever thought I would. So those are the two.
well,
You know, those are single meetings.
okay. Okay, so I've got Alexis, March and April, myself in May. I'm gonna put Lindsay for June and July. If I could take August, that would be good for me, but that leaves September through December for you two. How does that feel for you guys?
Right now, I don't know what my schedule is gonna be, so I'll just
Yeah.
take
Give you
some
some
and go with
time.
it and figure it out as we go.
Yeah, just say yes. It'll work out.
How about I just write something down and we can I think we can adjust this as needed, right? So.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was going to mention that just per the rules, and you know, really any noticed meeting can have multiple agenda items, and some of them might be necessary. Like if the city comes and requests something, then the person that's doing the agenda for that meeting will try to, put that topic into the meeting. And if it looks like to them it's going to go too long, then they can, see about, okay, well, I want to see if I can move this other topic that I had put together for this meeting. I think we should move it to another one. We just need to be a little flexible on that. But as long as we know who's kind of accountable, quote, for the agenda on each of the meetings, then if we're shuffling topics around, it's not as scary, right? Because you just say, hey, Alexis, I really need, you know,
Yeah.
I heard this thing and we really need to have this as a topic on that meeting. Can you just add that to the agenda? It's really about timing it so that, you know, I mean, just see what you can pack into, you know, 2 hours. I mean, that's
Okay,
really
so-
what it's about.
I just put Michael, I put you down for September and October, and then Pam, sorry, do you go by Pam or Pamela? Or does it not matter?
My mom calls me Pamela, but most people
Okay.
call me Pam. I don't have a strong preference either way. It's just
Okay, I just want to make sure before I start like
no.
calling you. Oh, I just lost my name. Okay. Pam, I put you down for November and December. Does that work for now and we can adjust
Yeah, like I
if we
said,
need to?
I don't know. So I'm just gonna say yes, and we'll figure it out later if we need
Yeah.
to.
Okay, that's the year.
Awesome.
We need to recruit some like very wealthy, don't have to work people to the board so they can just
That's
do
what
all
most
of the,
volunteer boards are
Or
made up
some
of.
retired folk.
yeah, somebody who just has all day long to work on board stuff. We're all too busy.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic, right? Because like, I mean, it's like we just want to have representation from kind of all walks of Livingston life is really what it is. And but it's also hard to do. I mean,
Mhm.
it's hard to recruit for these city boards, you know. I mean, I think if I may say so, I think we're a pretty effective group, but we also, you know, it's just it's hard. It's hard. Okay. I think that is literally what I wanted to accomplish with the agenda this time. So, oh, I can give you an update. I'm sorry, I didn't put on so I wanted to give you an update on some of my conversations with city staff and everything. We are in November, we put together that list of sort of choose your own adventure. Here's the topics that we could tackle. I'm actually trying to find that to pull it up on my screen, and I can't right now because I just can't. I don't know where it is, but I would like to go ahead and send that over to the commission chair, at least, and probably just the commission in general. And I think that they would then put that on an agenda item so that they could provide us feedback. Because I did express that while I understand that, you know, city staff has only so much time, and boy, did we burn through a lot of time with the growth policy with good reason. I'm not complaining about that, but it definitely sucked all the oxygen out of the kind of the room, so to speak, last year. We've been kind of given a lot of leeway as a board. And we don't get the benefit like other boards of having a sitting commissioner that joins our meetings, or even any regular visits by city staff. And so the question was how to sort of resolve that. And you know what, I'll even be more frank with y'all. For me, it was a question of motivation and a feeling of, I don't really think any of us that are very busy want to, and I'm saying this on the public record, I don't think any of us really want to be part of an ignored advisory board. And so it's not really a question of it's really about making sure that we feel like we're getting a good pipeline of stuff to look at. And so those are some productive conversations, because I think what we've come up with is that list of sort of choose your own adventure that's given to the commission. If we could do that on sort of an annual basis, and then make sure that we get actual airtime during a commission meeting where they discuss those topics and provide us with even qualitative feedback on what they'd like us to do. I think that's a much better way to go about than to, just kind of show up randomly with, here's some advice on the stuff that you put in our bylaws. So that's what I wanted to convey, just that, so that was specifically that came out, was we'll just put that list together, we'll send it to the commission, and then just, and I have that list, and as long as everyone's okay, I will forward that list to Alexis and she can send, just a letter to them saying, here's what we did. And Alexis, we can co-create that letter if you want, but I actually love the idea of it coming from you as chair now.
Well, the city's not really a fan of my workplace right now, so I don't know about that, but.
Well, I think, yeah, we do live in a small town, but and then having that list, reintroduced as so that we can get some actual feedback, and then share that recording of them talking about it back to us, so that we kind of know if we're on the right track on things or whatever.
Yeah, I think that's a good agenda item for the next meeting, is like, we have these lists of priorities. Here's this beautiful and eloquent letter that Michael and I wrote that we're going to send to the city, so we can get feedback on what our priorities should be for the rest of the year.
Mm-hmm.
So I think sounds like a good agenda item.
Awesome. That'll be so nice.
Direction.
Seems like if you get feedback on them for topics they'd like to see action on, they're going to be more responsive on actually taking up your advice and moving forward with things too.
Yeah.
Valuable thing to do.
Yeah, and then there was another, I also wanted to point out just some general discussions, because it's a small town, right? So I've seen a couple of the commissioners around town and talked about various topics, but like another thing that came up that I think is worth mentioning during this meeting is I guess, like, if you recall, we were working on a rewrite of the Night Sky Protection Act, and that was a little ill-advised, right? We spent some time trying to rewrite ordinance text. The city has people that do that. And so we learned through that the best process for that would be to make recommendations to the city commission on what to do, ask the city commission to direct city staff to achieve that, and then bring those results to us for review and approval, and forwarded whether we recommend or don't recommend. That process has not worked for the Dark Sky Protection Act rewrite. And that's because the city staff have had to make priority calls on spending what they spend their time on, right? I mean, I think specifically, and I'm not positive who at the city would be rewriting that text, but it probably would have landed on Matthew Menard's shoulders, who's the deputy planning director. But I think he announced that in the meeting last night, in the zoning commission meeting, that he's leaving. So it just sort of, there's a question of what does the accountability chain look like? How long is it okay to wait for the city to come back for the dark sky stuff? And how do we do that in a, you know, in a workable, in a collaborative way? So and I haven't actually followed up with Michael Cardus on whether that's something that they're working on actively right now or not. So I should do that. But the there's a question sort of of what the accountability chain is. And how does that work? Because if we're going to use that process, which is a pretty good process, it only works if it works, if that makes sense.
And it does seem like a conversation to have with them to figure out, like, how do we make this happen?
Yeah, and I thought it would be a good opportunity if it was on the it would be a good opportunity if we were having a choose your own adventure sort of topic presentation to the commission, and it was on one of their commission agendas, that we could also sort of address that that process question as well. It's like, okay, we're going to bring up the topic of the dark sky,
Mhm.
you know, the Night Sky Protection Act update, which, you know, gosh, it's kind of stale now. I think we sent those recommendations, those final recommendations were sent certainly over a year ago. I can tell you exactly. Yeah, I think our final submittal was on December 9th, 2020. No, surely not.
2019, 2020.
That makes sense.
And I think that was no, it was 2020.
Yeah, it was 2020.
It was my first meeting. We were
Yeah.
submitting them.
Yeah, that's a while.
I mean, we did have like a pandemic in there.
Oh, sure. Yeah, 100%. And again, like I think you're right. Like the point on the word accountability is not to point fingers and get all worked up and everything, but it is a question of whether that's a useful procedure, because it didn't work this time.
It's a valid question if we're gonna be submitting stuff to them.
Yep.
We don't want it to sit forever and ever. It can sit for a little
Other
bit.
than Michael, have any of you been with it since the beginning? And do you have a good feel of like how this board came to be and why in the first place? Just because that probably drives
I
some of the
know the
interest.
person who was starting it, because it was Kamran, right, who like pushed for it. So I was an Energy Corps person, which was like an AmeriCorps position, and my predecessor is like the guy who got a conservation board started in Livingston. I don't actually know much about how that came about, aside from I know who started it, but I could ask him. I could text him and ask him. But Michael probably knows more than I do.
I didn't know if it was a city driven initiative or like if residents had come forward or how the momentum got going in the first place. So I don't think there was a person that really pushed for it.
Yeah. I mean, he just recommended, there were a lot of people that were wanting to do more at the local level, especially about climate and conservation, and they wanted a climate action plan. They wanted an energy action plan, is what's in our bylaws. And so yeah, I think there was a pretty significant push from members of the public to the city commission to establish a conservation board that could look at those matters. And so that's why the conservation board was started. And they just created bylaws, and then they published and said, you know, who wants to join the board? That's it. That's the story. That, you know, Com made that recommendation. There was, at the time, there was a lot of momentum. You know, I don't think nobody really believed, nobody really knew that Alexis would be one of the last Energy Corps people. You know, I mean, there's been a lot of, I think that was another sort of problem, and it's something that we're still faced with today, which is that people, I mean, we really have no bandwidth at city staff level to work on this, on the stuff that we're advising on. And that, you know, that's something that could probably, that we may, I think that's a topic that will probably come up in a future meeting when we're talking about a climate action plan.
Yeah, I think part of the issue is the Energy Corps person's job explicitly was, or part of their job explicitly was supposed to be interfacing with the Conservation Board as the city's representative. And then the position, the entire program was eliminated, like all their funding got eliminated. So, and then I think that person went away and there was never anybody who was designated as the city's official representative after that. It just kind of was like, well, they're gone. That's that.
This is making me wonder if part of our problem is we're not being annoying enough.
I
Like,
think, right.
there wasn't ever anyone there outside of your position, Alexis, when you started. Now that's gone, and now no one's used to dealing with us, and maybe we're being too quiet. We just need to have more of a presence.
I also, Amy, I think also the public hasn't been annoying enough. And that's because a lot of the people that were really interested in the formation and work of a conservation board really jumped in on the growth policy stuff. And so that I've heard rumblings of people that are very interested in starting to re-engage with the city on our topics. So this year may feel different, but I don't know.
That makes sense. There's a lot of overlap in that growth policy and things that you guys have been working on or worked with in the past. It's a lot of overlap.
Yeah. Okay, those are the things I wanted to say. Does anybody have anything else they want to, under the noticed topics that we gave, which is basically just getting organized? What anything else y'all want to
Sounds good.
chat about? Cool.
So did we decide on doing any sort of a working meeting outside of our normal meeting time?
I think you decided the next meeting will probably be a working meeting, but at the same time.
Okay.
And I'll just say off the bat, I can't make that meeting, but my March is like, I'll be gone every week. So I think you guys should just go on without me unless more people can't make it, but. And somebody can take notes.
I'll take notes. I'll take notes, and I will try desperately to live up to your
Well,
your-
it took me like 5 months to figure it out, so I don't want to stop now.
Yeah. Okay. So that'll be the next meeting, and the topic is climate action, getting organized on that.
And
Lindsay, hey, Lindsay, like you, I'd love to check the box on the recycling video. I was over recycling today a lot. So that's actually still front of mind for me. So we should try to pick that back up at some point.
Where did
Okay,
you
I
guys
don't-
leave off? You had a video made that you were going to present to the commission?
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, Michael and I toured the not the transfer station, but 406 recycling, or We Recycle Montana, still not exactly sure their name, but the
Or
folks who
Yeah.
yeah, collect the dumpsters from the transfer station. And we got a tour of like the bays they go into, and to talk about like who are some of the, like the customers, like where is this product going to be recycled, and to kind of give our ideas to do a summary video that's like really quick, like what to do, not to do, and then some like a little bit nerdier, like deep dive into some of the different materials to get yeah, a deeper look at where's this stuff really going, and
And this is
how.
for the public or for the commission? Okay.
Sorry, I couldn't quite hear that.
Oh, is this like for general public or for like informative for the commission?
For yeah, we're thinking about our neighbors, consumers,
Okay.
more so as the audience. But outreach, like where are we going to put it, and that kind of stuff is a good thing to be thinking about to try to reach as many folks as we can with our non-existent video, but it's coming.
Okay. Public comment period. All right. Well, I think we're done. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All right. All in favor?
Bye.
Hi.
Aye. Thanks, guys.
I
Yeah,
will
thanks.
talk to you to figure out agenda